Hey everyone, Mike RC here. And about a month or two ago, I was asked to go on a podcast called WTF Gym Talk. The host, Stu, did an excellent job of asking really good questions on the fitness studio space and why some fitness studios were really successful and why some were unsuccessful, and what was the difference between the ones that were winning and losing. We shared that as there is a really big gap between the top and the bottom. And we talked about marketing as a whole, talked about advertising, we talked about branding, how to separate yourself from the rest, especially when the market can become more saturated in your area, and why boutique fitness studios are no longer really competing with the big box gyms. So I asked Stu if I could have a copy of that particular episode to share it with you. And he said yes. So here it is, the episode of when I was a guest on the WTF Gym Talk podcast. And I hope you enjoy it. And if you'd like, feel free to go check out the podcast, as I think Stu does a really good job of interviewing and sharing his thoughts on the industry as well.
Alrighty, guys, it is Stu. It is What the Fuck Gym Talk. And I have Mike RC, who has been awesome enough to get on the podcast with me. He's busy as fuck down in LA taking meetings and stuff, and he's in his hotel room, and we're jamming here today for you guys. Mike is a guy who came across my radar because I saw content from a guy doing what a lot of people are doing, talking about ways to grow a micro gym right now. That I was talking to Mike about this before we hit record. That's filling the Facebook feeds of a lot of gym owners. You bet. But the only thing that stood out to me, and means first impressions matter, the layout of his YouTube show, I looked at it and not knowing a thing about him, I said, that's fucking Sports Center or Around the Horn or, First Take. That's exactly what that is. And I listened for a little bit, not long enough to learn his background. And it wasn't until later I talked with people like Brittany Welk and others that you've worked with that have had great things to say about you guys. And then I learned that you were a huge basketball and sports fan. And I was like, that makes sense. But you put did you know you always wanted to do a Sports Center-esque looking thing?
No, I still don't care if it's Sports Center or not. You're right. Everyone's doing the same stuff. Like when I look at my feed, they all look like the same person to me. They're all different people, but I see the same guy. It's a copy paste. Yeah. The guy in front of his whiteboard with the meme format or whatever. But we wanted to be able to create stuff that was unique, even if it's not unique in the world, it's unique to us. So the testimonial meme format, that was us. The side-by-side, that was us. We created that first. The mistake that we made was that it was too easy to replicate. And therefore, everyone started doing it because everyone could do it. And so I was like, okay, it's not about being different. It's about being so difficult to replicate that people won't even attempt it. Or it's going to take them a long time by the time they do, we're on to the next one. And so that's when I was like, we can't just do similar stuff. So if you look at our conference, it's not just renting out a little room in a hotel. Like we spent over $250,000 on this thing. We had contortionists, jugglers. We had fire breathers. And then I found out the CEO of the building had a phobia of fire. So we had to lose our deposit on that. But we had
you guys did a Greatest Showman kind of theme, didn't you?
It was insane, man.
I heard things. I heard it was awesome.
It is nuts. So, between that, the show's difficult to replicate. What we're doing with, our trainings, our programs, all this stuff that we're doing, we're like, okay, it's okay to be different, but I want it so that somebody can't just go, hey, we should do that. And by tomorrow they have it. Like it cannot be that simple.
I tell people all the time, every micro gym owner, in my opinion, is kind of like, and where my niche is really in this CrossFit-esque kind of model, right? A barbell with shitty operational capacity in these 4,000 square foot warehouses, and they're wondering why they can't make money because they can't fit more than 17 people in a class. That kind of scene, and they're like, well, how can I make my thing different? And being different is most important. People recognize different, but I think really what you hit on right there is being different to the point where it does take someone a while to catch up to you. I always use Amazon as an example. They were the first to 2-day shipping. Now Target and Petco and fucking everyone can do 2-day shipping. They were the first to 1 day, and then the first the same day, and they'll be the first to have a drone fly into your goddamn house, punch you in the face, give you your fucking package, and fly off.
You can't catch up to that.
Yeah. Well, and even if you do, though, they're always going to have the edge because they did it first. They knew why they came to that conclusion. You just recognized it. So it's like two dudes go into the bar to pick up a chick, and they're wearing the same outfit. One guy saw that guy wear it 2 weeks ago and goes, that looked good on him. I'm going to put it on. He might not get laid at the same ratio as the other guy. Like, who wore it better, right? Kind of scenario.
And I would say a combination of who put it out there, the
Yeah.
best first, because Elon Musk didn't invent the electric car and Steve Jobs didn't invent the MP3 player, but they got it out to market. Like they really, people think of Steve Jobs when they think of like the iPod and the MP3 player. People think of Elon Musk when it's electric car, but people that really have understood it, they weren't first. They weren't first to be different. They just did different better in a way that they looked like they were first. They just outshined them. In fact, I met a guy like 6 years ago, and it blew my mind. And at first, I remember I thought this was an unethical idea, but then I was like, I get it. I get what he's doing. He would look for restaurant concepts that were doing really well, and then he would set up a restaurant like down the street and make it 10 times better than what they had. So if, let's say, this Irish pub was killing it, he would set up an Irish pub down the street, but he would make it bigger, better, more unique, do all this stuff because he knew that Irish pub was what they wanted. But now he made it look like this is the Irish pub of the town. Sure. And he used to do that with he had like 40 restaurants he did that with.
Good artists borrow, great artists steal. That's one of my favorite lines out there, And do you believe in new ideas, or do you believe that everything is just a better 2.0 version of something? Are there new ideas, or are they just a better iteration of what's currently existing?
I think what we're doing with LRVT is a new idea. I don't think anyone's doing it like this, but it's definitely inspired.
For everyone that's listening real quick, what is LRVT? So people don't know what the acronym stands for.
LRVT stands for Loud Room or Virtual Training. So the idea is, obviously it started out with me being just a normal ad agency for fitness studios, and we were doing well as far as what we were supposed to do. We were driving in a ton of leads every month for these people, but we had a 42% retention rate, meaning, and the way we measure retention at the time, because we were so young, was, okay, we got a 3-month agreement. How many people will opt in to the 4th optional month, right? Like you can cancel now. And only 42% of people were sticking around. And so that was terrible. We needed to get that number up. And so we decided, find out exactly what it was that was getting people to not really get the results they needed. We realized there were 3 different types of studio owners that we were working with. There was the fitness guy that started a business, right? He was probably a trainer somewhere. He was probably a great instructor or trainer somewhere. And he was the man when he was the employee at that place. And so he figured, man, if I start my own thing, I'll be the man there too. But the thing is, he didn't know all the other things the business was doing: marketing, payroll, HR, all that stuff. He never had to practice. So the fitness guy started a business. Then there's the business guy that started a fitness business. So this guy, yeah, he owns maybe an Orange Theory or F45, but he also owns, Harkins Theater. He also owns Massage Envy. He also owns other stuff. I mean, he doesn't care what it is. He just knows how to build a team and let them execute the operations. And then there's the third guy. And the third guy's the first guy that's striving to be the second guy, right? He's the fitness guy that started a business, but he will read and listen to whatever podcasts and do whatever you tell him to do because he just wants to be successful as a business owner. And so he's making that transition. So we learned that the second guy and the third guy did very well in our program. The first guy struggled. So how do we get the first guy to start being inspired by the second and the third guy? So that's why we did the show. And that's also why we did LRVT, Loud Room Virtual Training. The show was to get people to realize, look, the greats still learn, right? And I bring in people that are really good at what they do, and they talk about how they learn. And then I give them an opportunity where they can learn. So now bring it to LRVT. Loud Room Virtual Training is a platform that a studio owner can log into and learn everything they need to know, not just from me, but from the most successful fitness studios from all over the world. People from Sydney, Australia, people from Canada, people from the US, all parts of the US, on sales, marketing, advertising, HR, finance, pre-sales, you name it. Like there's not one part of your business that we leave untouched. And you can learn all those things from various trainers. So maybe you really align with this one studio owner who's got 18 studios, but you don't align with this guy. That's fine. Stop following his stuff. This is the guy that you feel you mesh well with. Go through his stuff. His stuff's great. So that I don't think existed before. I see what other people have done before with learning centers and like training centers. It's always been the CEO of that agency creating it all. And I'm just not good enough in all those things to be able to give you the best content. But I can find the best people, and they're good enough to give you the best content in those trainings.
And so it ties into even just what we were talking about prior that I think catapults into this. I believe in the white space theory. I believe there's generally two things working out on some ends of the spectrum, and the real business opportunities exist in the middle. We were talking before I hit record. There were Globo gyms, right? You got your Gold's gyms, your LA Fitnesses, your Lifetimes, and then like Curves had done pretty well. Birkin Yoga was doing decent at the time, but the CrossFit thing was one of the biggest explosions for an entrepreneur to get started with minimal capital. So now I look at it now in 2019, I'd call that back there to about 2022, 2003, 4, 5. Now I see the white space. None of these boutique studios really think that LA Fitness is their competitor anymore. Completely, they're completely different. But there's like maybe a CrossFit model and an Orange Theory. Right? Both tribally strong, both find people that want their thing. But I believe there's white space somewhere in between there. Because if you were to talk about the avatar and what an Orange Theory does and what a CrossFit gym does, viscerally different on opposite ends of the spectrum. And whenever I see that, there's space to go in the middle. And that's where you see like some really good brands that I've had a chance to see and work with. Companies like Metabolic, companies like Alchemy 365. These are all, I've got them doing this big conference down here at the end of October, and I've got them speaking at it. And I look at those guys, and those are white space guys. What you're doing with Loudroomer VT, I look at that kind of white space. Everyone's making content, and some people are making really good looking content, so it's harder to get rid of. And I bet you'd probably agree, when you invested in videographers and design guys and editors, it was probably one of the best investments you ever made.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I always wondered, and then around year 2, it was starting to realize. Like I was like, okay, this was a good idea. We haven't run a lead gen campaign. Like you see those ads, you don't see those ads for me. You don't see like opt into our thing to see the case study. Like you don't see.
Type in your name and email, click here, and I'll.
Yeah. If you want to see 3 ways, we don't run lead gen campaigns. And right now we've got 139 leads in the pipeline, meaning these are people that are ready to do demos with us. We've got I don't know how many now. I know it was 40 a couple days ago. Around 40 people on a wait list that extends up to 60 days, meaning they already paid their first month just to lock themselves in the wait list to work with us over the next 60 days when we're ready to launch. So, but that I believe is strictly from the content that we've created, and not just the quantity of the content. I really believe that the people I've brought on the show have just done a remarkable job of giving their best content, and it's allowed me to help more people. So I think it's great quality content too, as far as what people are.
And I've not experienced it myself, so I'm talking third party, and talking with people like Brittany Welk and all that. The accessibility and the ease of it, I've heard, is phenomenal. And that's again, we were talking off the record earlier. It needs, like, Netflix is easy. Netflix is easy. Like the best UI of any app is easy. Can I do what I need to do in 1 to 2 clicks, pushes, whatever it needs to be? And
do I know where I should go? And is it?
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, just like when I think of great UX, like Spotify is one of my favorite models of just intuitive. Like I want everything to be like Spotify. Cool, I love that. All right, so here's one thing I want to talk about: what the branding versus marketing. Mm-hmm. Gyms, we were talking earlier about there's these guys and everyone's a ClickFunnels guru that can get you 1,100 leads in 6 days and all this other stuff, and that's marketing. Right? Marketing is here. I'm going to tell you who I am. That's marketing. Branding is you tell me who I am, right? Branding happens in the customer's line of sight, whereas marketing happens in our line. We're fully in control of what people think of that marketing and what they see in that marketing and all that. You wear a lot of Apple, you wear Nike. Those are brands you align yourself with because it makes you feel a certain way. And you know the difference between this. If you're talking to a micro gym, and we both know cash flow is king, we're generally pushing marketing on these guys first and foremost prior to branding. Would you say it's typically like the playbook for you guys?
Well, I think terminology is so interesting, like with all different parts of the country and world on this kind of stuff, because I think you and I may have just different terminology on it. So when you say, like, to me, what's the difference between, or like marketing versus branding, what's the difference?
Sure.
To me, that's like saying what's the difference between Honda and a Civic. To me, branding is under the umbrella of marketing. It's not a different thing. So marketing to me, and the way I've studied it, is it's the actions that you take to create the marketability of your product. That goes from, creating the buyer personas to creating the journeys that you want them to go through on the prospect end, on the customer end. That goes to the pricing, the way you're going to present that pricing. That goes to all the different verbiage that you will and will not say, the color schemes, the logos, the imagery, all that stuff, creative, all that's in there. And so under that umbrella of marketing, the way I see it is there's PR, there's advertising, I think that's our terminology. I call it advertising.
Yep.
Branding. There's all these, even a portion of sales when it comes to how we are presenting what we said, not the closing and all that stuff. So for me, marketing is, because you never have, when you think about it, nobody creates a branding budget. You create a marketing budget, and that marketing budget will cover the advertising, whether it's branding or lead gen or whatever. You don't hire a branding director, you hire a marketing director. You don't hire a CBO, you hire a CMO, which is chief marketing officer. And under the umbrella that guy runs, it's not just the advertising, which is our terminology that we're figuring out here is a little different, but it's also the branding and all that. He's responsible for it. So that's why I said it's like, what's the difference between Honda and a Civic? To me, the Civic is under Honda. But the way you're saying it, absolutely right. I think that one is meant, what I say advertising is meant to take the message and here's what we say about us. And branding is more of how did you interpret that? So now when you're talking to the world, what do we mean to you? That's the way I see it at least.
I love it. And I'm not gonna lie. I think on podcasts far too often when there's two people that, do similar, they're in similar lines of work, there's too much agreeance. And I love that we have different viewpoints on this because neither one of us is wrong or right. It's just how we interpret it. I always think of another way I always put it is marketing has a strategic plan and a calculated ROI. Like you have an idea from your CAC to what different KPIs you're chasing, whether that was a good marketing campaign, did we, whatever. Branding doesn't have, it has a very long tail ROI. So for example, at my studio, Urban Movement, we spent 5 months, creating our own white label formula of toiletries and shampoos and body washes, all self-branded and all that kind of stuff, just to add that little bit of difference in the studio. Is there any ROI in that whatsoever other to the 20, let's say that's even generous, the 15% of customers that actually use the showers at our facility? Probably not. Is it generating us any money? Probably not. Is it, do we hope, long tail ROI for brand? Mm-hmm. Yes, we sure do. And that's another way I generally look at it. Is our ROI more short-term, medium-term, and very calculated? I'm putting that $2,000 into this YouTube pre-roll campaign. I'd like to get this many clicks to the landing page and then see my, that many clicks fill out and those people come in. And then branding being, the play that you do for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where you go around town and you make pink shirts that say blah, 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 whatever clever tagline you have associated, you give them out, or you host a free workout every single weekend in your gym on Breast Cancer October, because there's a gazillion nonprofits that have a budget to hit, and they will do the advertising. You get the free lead information because they got to come in and fill out your waiver. And so little things like that.
I agree. I think most branding, the easiest branding to do, even if you have little skill, is long-term branding. Like if you just stick with something long enough, that's what happened with me. I don't think I have remarkable skill in branding. That's not my strength. And so for me, for the first year and a half that I had the GSD show, I felt like the only people that watched it were my employees and maybe my mom. Like I felt like nobody was watching. And then, over the course of, by year 2, it felt like, wow, one person recognized me at a conference. Year 3, oh, wow, 4 or 5 people recognized me at an industry conference. And year 4, it's, quite a few people. I'm getting stopped. And so it took me 4 years to get to a point where I felt like I'm making a deep impact because I'm not that great at it. But I think there's people that are really great at it or they stumble across it, and branding can drive ridiculous, very quick results. I think Popeye's Chicken just did a great example of that. That was not
Oh yeah, between them and Bojangles, that entire thing was just so creative. It was perfect example.
That's not lead gen, right? And that's not long tail. That happened right away. They sold out of sandwiches quick. So I think when branding's done, and you're really good at it, like they were really, that was genius. You can get results really freaking quick. But if you don't have that skill set, you gotta really either bring somebody on your team that can do that, which that's tough sometimes, or you just got to do what you really do best and focus on that and just be consistent, you know?
I agree. The one thing that, really troubled me in the rise of the again, let's call it the 6-week challenge, the front end offer that a lot of gyms have opted into. And, I've had Alex on my show. I know you're good friends with Alex. And I remember talking to him on my podcast. I said, my fear is that there are brands of micro gyms that a 6-week challenge to that type of clientele, the kind of person who would respond to a 6-week challenge is similar to 10 years ago, someone who might be watching at 2:30 in the morning and buy the Fat Blaster Gazelle 3000 for 4 easy payments of $19.95. Similar, not exactly, but a similar mindset, a desperate for results mindset. Very similar to the micro gym owners that respond to these ads for the other guy. They're profit desperate. They're like, yeah, sure, whatever. You can give me however many leads, do that for me. Mm-hmm. And my fear was that gyms would be utilizing marketing plays like the 6-week challenge that truly was the antithesis of their brand. And I'm going to use a CrossFit gyms that generally were a little edgier, a little bit more like they had a very niche of a niche audience. Yeah. And then you go from this hardcore thing and you've been telling the world like you were CrossFit, people, they used to wear shirts that would say our workouts will smoke you like cheap crack. You can't have that on the back of your shirt and then offer a 6-week fluffy muffin fat girl fitness camp, to do like it was this.
The lead gen campaign was so done consistently that it became their brand.
Correct. Yeah. And so now next thing you know, it's like, well, I want to turn it off now. Like, listen, branding is whatever you do consistently, good or bad.
$5 foot long, right? So
100%. 100%.
You think $5,
Yeah, you 100% do. Now, do you think that there are gyms that opt into marketing campaigns that might not fit their model and they do it for so long it switches? Like, is there a point in marketing that you have to consider that front end offer? Is that best for you? So like a CrossFit gym maybe that does like what I call PT first, meaning personal training is the entry point to group class. Offering a free 6-week would work against that model for you. Offering a free consultation and fitness assessment, whatever you want to call it, that might have been a better front-end offer. How much time do you guys spend with your clients at Loud Rumor and making sure that the front-end offer matches, not what's popular and going to get the most, PPCs, but what is going to actually support what it is you do on the inside?
Well, when it comes to the front-end offer, I think some can be run consistently and be okay and not create a brand around them. The 6-week challenge is such an in-depth, you have to describe what it is. You have to really explain it. So because you have to explain 6-week challenge, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, and you're going to get this, and you're going to get that. Because you have to explain it so much, it now becomes the thing I think of when I think of that company. But, a free week or a free session,
sure.
You don't have to explain that. There's nothing really that goes into that. So
it's industry agnostic. So many people run that.
Yeah, even agencies do, right? Like, just jump on a free call, that's not your brand. So because I understand that, I don't need to explain it. Now, if we ran something where it was like a 3-week, at our agency, we'll do a 3-week trial with you and we'll call it something. We'll call it the 3-week cloud trial, whatever. Now we'll be known for that because I don't know what that is unless it's explained. And so now, you're the company that does that 3-week cloud trial, right? Whatever the hell that means, I just made it up. But yeah, right. But you don't have to explain a free sample, a free session. So that's not the brand. So I think front end offers, if it can, I get it, 20 for 20, 5 for 5, something like that.
Yep.
If you explained easily, it's not going to become part of your brand. It's the entry point to get me to want to give it a shot.
Correct. And my wife owns a very successful salon here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I sit there and I listen. I just love watching the human element of a salon, right? It's very entertaining. But I see such similarities, not only from like a recession-proof, I use the word recession-proof, but very, very recession-resistant, both industries. But then I look at there were very, very few salons, dry bars even, and stuff like the big chains, blow bars and stuff like that do front-end offers. And stuff like that. When you look at because I'm sure I'm assuming have you guys gone into like the massage and the salon space at all with your clients?
We got into massage about 1.5 years ago because we had an Orange Theory owner that owned like 15 Orange Theory, and they also own like a few Gen Vs.
Yeah.
And what's that?
That's a great brand.
Yeah,
Massage
yeah.
Envy is amazing.
Yeah, and they were like, "Hey, would you be able to help us with this?" And we resisted at first, and the guy was, he's convinced, he's a good businessman. We're like, well, "All right, we'll do it for you. We'll give it a shot, but if it doesn't work, like that's because we don't do massage." Well, it worked, and it worked just as good as fitness. So, yeah, we've run campaigns now, probably 30 or 40 massage places, but obviously you can't do a free trial. You definitely don't do any type of challenge. You do like like a slash. So it's
Sure.
Originally $89 per hour slash 39, something like that. And then you put the percentage of whatever that comes out to, and then you stack it. You'll also get a free this, and essential oils or whatever, right? 15 minutes additional this. So you stack it.
And there's a lot of gyms, I'm a big fan when you're a micro gym owner, you need to go and play in other people's four walls. So if you own a CrossFit, go to Orange Theory, F45, Eat the Frog, Metabolic, all this stuff, and vice versa. And it's amazing. I had a gym owner, like whenever they come on site and do work with me here, I take them to these different micro gyms we have in Charlotte. We're getting a Barry's boot camp, all these great models. There's no such thing as a free class. Like you go to like most Orange Theories, you're going to put your credit card down. And if you show to that class as a trial, they will charge you. And
the trial, yes.
Yes.
There is a free, they actually right now, the approved offers for Orange Theory is up to 2 free sessions. So you get 2 free sessions. That's the biggest trial. And as long as you go, you're not going to get charged. But in reality, even if you don't go, they're not going to charge you. They'll just see if they can get you back. They don't care about the $10. They will use that in the sale. But then if you, to get you to show, but if you don't show, they'll be like, hey, we'll do this one. And then they'll
it's interesting. The one that opened up here in the South End, which is in the hip urban district here in Charlotte, North Carolina, it was when it first opened, and maybe they were just far enough out of grand opening and pre-sale and hitting the number that they need to open up the studio. The drop-in was $23. And so I took 2 gym owners there, and they only allowed 2 new people to come in per class. And anyway, at the end of the day, the one guy had to take a flight. He had to miss it. And they hit him for the $23 on it. And when he got off the plane, his Wi-Fi turns on. He's like, dude, they actually did it. I was like, it's thug as fuck. But good, you ate up a spot in that class. They should have charged you because they have a fixed operational capacity. They're anticipating 45 people being in there. And
I think that also has, operator to operator, they'll be a little different too.
Sure.
Sometimes they'll make a decision because they don't see the long vision of it and what could be done. Like it's better to make $23 of this. But in some cases, it's a capacity issue. Like, look, we actually can't fit that person anyway. So let's just charge them and get our ad costs back. Yeah. So, I think
they could have known he was a drop-in. They could have known he wasn't a viable long-term person. So they were taking the hit because they knew it was, whatever it might have been.
Right? There's a front desk girl that just got hired and
had a bad day. Yeah.
Or just follow the rules, not knowing because she hasn't been there long enough that, look, we'll bend that. But she's like, it's in the SOPs. And so we're like, okay, I got to charge him now because he didn't show up. So there could be a million reasons, but we've now, I think it's over 130 or so at Orange Theory Fitnesses. And from what I've gathered, you won't pay that fee.
There's a lot of leeway there.
Yeah. I mean, it's really it's a strategy to get you to have a better show rate.
Sure. 100%. Yeah,
but they'll charge you if you do it a couple times in a row. Like if you don't show, but generally, because even my wife signed up, and this is before we started working with Orange Theories, and she didn't show to her first one because we have 4 kids, so a lot of shit happens. So we had 4 kids, something happened, she didn't make it, and they called her up and they're like, "Hey, it's okay, but make sure you make it on this one." She went in, it was good. Yeah. So and the funny thing is, the owner of that Orange Theory Fitness is now actually a performance director at Loudoun.
Okay, that's awesome. Me and my wife, we have an Orange Theory right down the street, and even with me owning the gym, it's sometimes just more convenient to bust down there and do that. I've got a 2-year-old and life and businesses, and it's this studio, the operator runs it a little bit tighter. Show on a class, and again, I think it's also where the capacity is on a studio and things like that. But what models right now that you see really stand out to you? Right, everyone like Orange Theory is the 1,500, 1,600 wherever they're at right now. They've just blown away.
F45 for sure, and it's proven. They're literally the fastest growing fitness studio franchise right now. I think they're approaching 2,000. They're signing. I just met with HQ yesterday, and so they're signing about 60 to 70 franchises per month. Their goal is to get to 100 per month.
Do you think they had because they had a continent proof of concept? They didn't have 100 50 studios. They had entire, like Australia. The entire model has been proven for years over there. Do you think that's why investors in the US and franchisors are just eating it up because of that proof of concept? No, we haven't seen anything like that. Like Orange Theory was in Florida. Like that's where it's.
For we work with over 50 franchises right now. And, I would say probably a third of them have over 100 locations, right? And so usually when they're a bigger franchise like that, I'll go work out a few different times. And I will say there's Orange Theory and F45. They do good workouts. So do some others that I'm not going to mention because I'm going to give a negative to it now. The thing that I think Orange Theory and F45 do really well is everyone talks about community, but they really do have one. There's one that I'm thinking of that is near my house. I thought was a killer workout. It was so cool. It was like a nightclub, and I got a great workout. Instructors were great, but that community is not there. Like no one knows each other. No one talks to each other. You're in, you're out. And it was very easy for me to never go back. And it wasn't because of the workout, because I'd go back. So I think F45, they do such a really good job. I mean, my employee works out there, Victoria, and she got McKenna to work out there. McKenna lost 40 pounds there. McKenna got Alexa to work out there. Justice has his girlfriend working out there. And it's like they're pulling people in because they want to be the person that's bringing people in. And it's like they're high. They're still missing a few things like everyone is. The industry, this segment of the industry is so young. It's only been around for like 12 years or less. Yeah. So there's still a lot of learning, and that's what I'm hoping LRVT does. But the sales is something that I think F45s would have so much more if they really embrace the sales process a little bit better. But they've got a lot of the other stuff down really well.
It's interesting. And because we were talking about how your real background is in the business sales marketing side of this. It's not running a studio. So you being a consumer and obviously associating day to day, hour to hour with studio owners, you being a consumer and this person, when I look at something like F45, the biggest hack, and I just look from the physical, what's happening, it's 2 people to a station. You've got a buddy in the work. It's almost like a partner workout every day, and you get partnered up with different people every day. You're bound to know somebody. Yeah. If there's 16 stations, 2 people per station, and we got 32 people in class, and you go 2 days a week, and you do that for 3 months, you're going to make new friends very quick.
Yeah.
Versus the spin studio model. And
or even better, if let's say you're not so sociable, so you're not clicking with them, what are you going to do? You're going to bring a buddy in.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell people the number one reason we all don't have as many clients as we want is because Sally couldn't get Becky to go work out with her. Do you know how many women are wanting to go try group fitness, but they won't because they need the support of the buddy system, and that buddy isn't, they're in awareness, but they're, maybe they're in the consideration stage, but they're not ready to make that full jump yet. And that the number one reason more people don't come in and work out of your studios because it's one of them does, but they've got a counterpart, a friend, a partner, or whatever, a roommate that hasn't made the commitment, and they will not go until they go, or until something personally, emotionally happens large enough to force them off that edge of the cliff. So you like Orange Theory, or I'm sorry, F45.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. How many more, because you look at Barry's Boot Camp and Orange Theory and Eat the Frog, and Eat the Frog is big in Arizona. It's starting in Canada. Do you know how many locations they have there?
I don't know. Eat the Frog, I think. So the thing too, like with franchises that we work with, there's ones that we really, really love. F45, Orange Theory being a couple of them. Spenga is another one. There's a few. Jabs Boxing is another one. Then there's franchises that we'll work with because we think there's potential. And Eat the Frogs, I had a weird. I feel like they've got a really good workout. They've got a good concept. But I think kind of like me, what I need to do with my company, where I'm just not great in some areas. So I had to bring in some really great people to help fill those gaps for me. So I didn't have to suffer because of that. I think they need to add maybe a couple people to the headquarters team. And if they did that, I think they could explode. But the conversation I had there, it felt like we were missing we weren't seeing things the same way. And I think that kind of hurt what could have been something really good for them. So that's my perspective.
Sure.
That's a great concept though.
Do you run into issues? Do your F45 clients like, well, listen, Mike, yeah, I'm down. Let's book this for my 6th franchise in my territory, but don't you dare go working for Eat the Frog when they move in here. Do you guys get into anything like that? Do you guys no non-competes or anything?
Well, here's the thing. We have a Facebook group and there's like, I don't know, there's tons of people in there, but it's all people that work with us. Right. And there's no negativity. There's no putting people down. There's no,
it's an abundance mindset group.
Yes. And so the way I teach in there is it's not about fighting over your slice of the pie. It's about making the pie bigger. And so, I encourage, like, I'll give you a great example. One person in the Facebook group asked a good question, good strategic question, which was, hey, there's a studio down the street from me that's closing down. They actually still have quite a few members. How do you guys think I can leverage that so that I can see if I can bring in their members into our studio, right? And my question was simple. I go, well, are you friends with the owner? And she said, no, we never talk. And I go, well, there was your chance. Because if I'm your friend and I'm doing that, I'm calling you first. I'm saying, hey, I got to do this, but is there any way you could take care of my members? I feel bad. They're really good. That's what I'd have done first. But you were so scarcity mindset. You didn't want to meet with them. You didn't want to find ways to share stuff because you're afraid of your 200 or 300 members going to their studio, when in reality, there's like probably 80 or 90,000 people that fit the demographic in your 5-mile radius that you can both work with. And you're fighting over crumbs and there's a whole pizza. And so, I always recommend, you got a ton of people here. You shouldn't be focusing on how do I get your clients. You should be saying, how do we get all those people that are no one's clients?
Correct.
Right? Because we're an obese country, man. Like there is a lot of opportunity. We are an obese country. We're an out of shape country, but we are in a world now where we're becoming more health conscious. Right now, the millennial, and they haven't gotten at least I haven't seen the numbers for Gen Z yet. The millennials are 1/3 less smokers. There's a third less smokers with millennials. It was like 40-some% less people drink soda in this generation versus the other generation. More people drink water. It was like a big thing on drinking water. More people will do regular activities like hiking and sightseeing and stuff like that. We're health conscious today. And so there's a big opportunity. We're still fighting over the low-hanging fruit instead of really wanting to get people to come and become that low-hanging fruit, bring them in. So again, not fighting over the slice, but making the pie bigger.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's where, especially models. So for example, if I'm working with a gym, let's use the CrossFit scenario. It's, nomadic fitness is a thing. ClassPass has made nomadic fitness a very well-known thing. There are people who don't just want to dial into one tribe. They're going to taste test a lot of different ones. Kind of like going to a microbrewery and getting a flight of beer and just kind of sampling each one. ClassPass allows that. And especially with a robust economy where you have transplants going all over the country for new jobs right out of college. You get there, you don't know anybody. Get ClassPass, you're able to go ahead, try all these different studios, meet somebody. I always joke around, my demographic here in Charlotte in the South End, all millennial, 28, just got a job in an apartment. It's 3D Tinder. My gym is 3D Tinder. Friends, fitness, and fucking. Like I joke around like that's kind of what a lot of them are coming for. And I'm a huge fan of what ClassPass does. And I think I'm even a bigger fan of a CrossFit gym recognizing, you know what? There is a spin studio 5 blocks down the street. Why don't we offer a reciprocal discount? Nothing that's going to, pull our pants down, but something that would allow, hey, listen, Sally, so what are you thinking of doing for fitness? Well, I think you could be doing strength training with us 2 days a week. And you mentioned you really like to ride a bike. We have a great partnership with Flywheel. You get a 15% discount if you go there 2 days a week as well. And now you got your 4 days a week and you're losing your 20 pounds in order for your, your bachelorette party, whatever the hell it is. Collaboration over competition. And
yeah.
I am a huge fan of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of agency owners that target the same people I target. And it's funny, I was in a text conversation with one of them about a month ago where they're actually looking at changing a few things about their model. And they wanted to know if they could send me over like 150 clients because they want them taken care of. That's it. I'm just kidding. So at 150, that would essentially add, 150K per month, roughly, depending on the right, 150 to 250K per month in recurring. So that could be a $3 million deal.
Yeah.
and
Because you
all
were cool with somebody. Because you were cool with somebody.
yeah, and I've given
You were a
that person
colleague, not a competitor.
I've given that person ideas. I've showed them what's working for us with Instagram story ads and how we do it and how it's working extremely well. They shared with me certain things they were doing, and we don't keep anything. When you keep something close to the chest, when you're afraid to share what you've got, that means you're probably a one-trick pony and you're in trouble anyway.
100%.
When you don't mind sharing, it was what was like Rocky. I was just watching Rocky with my daughter. It was Rocky 3. And at the end, or it was
How
Rocky.
old's your daughter?
She's 8. Dude,
I love that she's in the Rocky at 8.
Oh my God. Well, for the listeners, you're not able to see what I'm about to show him, but you're able to at least hear his reaction to it. So this is my daughter after the movie doing push-ups.
Oh, that's hilarious. I was hoping you were going to show her like drinking the eggs raw out of the blender. Like,
and that's her crying her eyes out because Mickey died.
Oh man. Who didn't cry when Mickey died?
The reason I looked at her was because I was crying. But I don't know why I was saying that. We were talking about sharing stuff, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, we definitely believe in helping out as much as we possibly can and collaborating as much as you can. And when you do that, things just naturally end up working out in your favor. And even if they don't, who gives a crap? Like, I'm not fighting over. Oh, that's why I brought up Rocky 3, because in that movie, if you remember, Apollo, who was Rocky's opponent, now became the guy that helped Rocky.
Yep.
And now because of that, Rocky got stronger. And then at the end of the movie, because Apollo showed him everything he knew, which was a ton of tricks.
And then they hit the fist at the same time.
Yeah. And then at the end, he was like, well, how are you going to beat me? You showed me everything you know. He's like, almost everything.
Yeah.
And, so there's so much. Apollo was a champion. He was a true champion. So he could show him a ton, and there's still so much. So
yeah,
I think the reason a lot of people play close to the chest is because they're not really studying business, and they're not getting the trainings, and they're not getting all this stuff. I feel bad because I love a lot of stuff that Gary Vee says. I think Gary Vee makes a lot of really great points, and I think he's super smart. But he said something the other day that drove me nuts, which is like, you don't get mentors, or you shouldn't get mentors, and like, just pay attention to the market. And I'm like, that's like LeBron James saying, don't go through training on how to jump higher. You should just know how to jump. It's like, great. LeBron is different. He's a unique specimen. He can just jump. He doesn't even know how the hell he does it. Gary Vee, I think some people like Gary, he sees things very differently. He can, like Dr. Dre he sees music, right? You hear him say that I see music. I don't hear it. I see it. I think Gary Vee, yeah, he's got that vision where he can see the angles on things a little better, and I respect him for that. I think it's awesome. But I don't think everyone's got that. I do not have that. I don't have the ability to like see the market before the market happens. I have the ability to find people that see the market before the market happens. And that's actually, if you really get to know me, what people will tell you is I'm really well connected. I'm friends with a lot of really smart people, and I can call them at any time. I can make a phone call and ask them questions. But I don't, like, they call me every once in a while, but everything they're learning from me is something I just learned from someone else.
Sure.
So I think people should invest in mentorship or look for mentors. A lot of my mentorship was free just by being a nice guy and helping out wherever I could.
Mentorship could be networking, right? Mentorship should be being like the people you know, and you collab. Like, I'm a big fan of getting the micro gym owners in a market like I do it here in Charlotte, and I get from yoga to spin to CrossFit and Pilates and boxing and air, all that stuff, and get together once a quarter and just shoot the shit. And just literally, like, what issues that everyone's got going on? What's everyone thinking about this and that? And that, could be a version of mentorship. Some people read books, like a book a month, and that could be a version of their mentorship kind of scenario. I think when I hear mentorship, it's never stop learning. Never, like, the second you stop wanting to learn, and you know this, and anyone who's successful knows this, you're done for. You're absolutely done. And I believe in a phrase, it's not what we do, it's how and why we do it. Like, what you do on your Instagram stories isn't the special sauce, because anyone can look at it and copy it. With Facebook ad transparency, we can find any Loud Rumor client, click on the Facebook ad transparency, see the exact copy. That is not what is special for everyone listening. It's not what he does with a photo and ad copy. It is how they pull it off on the back end that you cannot always see, and why they do it that way. Without the how and the why, you've got nothing. You've got nothing there. That's, you know, that copy means nothing. That, you know, that image or the way Gary Vee does an Instagram post. Oh, if I use that same, you know, font in the same way, it's going to work. It's not, because there's a how and why behind it you can't even touch.
Yeah, there's a ton of people out there that are wearing Chucks, that have jeans, that have beanies, that, you know, do all the stuff Gary does in the exact same way Gary does it, and are not being successful. And it's because that's not who they are. You know, like me, I think Gary's a really smart guy, but I'm not Gary. And so for me, Kobe saw a lot of Michael Jordan in him. And so modeling after Michael made sense for Kobe because there were so many similarities in the way they were both 6'6". They were both shooting guards. They were scorers. They were competitive. I mean, they were cut from the same cloth. So Kobe says Michael Jordan was his mentor, and you could see a lot of it. But Kobe didn't have Larry Bird as his mentor. They played very different. He definitely didn't have Shaq as a mentor, right? So they're very different. So I think a lot of times people will see success and they want to be like that. But that's like me going, I want that guy's haircut because I want to look like him. It's like, dude, when you put that haircut on, you look like an idiot. Like Brad Pitt can have long hair in Troy. Mike Garcia, long hair, doesn't look like Brad Pitt in Troy.
Yeah.
So you have to know, like, and one thing Gary does say that I like is you have to be very self-aware and really understand who you are and what style of play works really well for you, and then be that. And then don't be the other thing, because it's going to actually look worse, right?
Let's tie it into basketball. Okay. Like, how many people after Miami went on their championship run thought the big three was the solution to everything? Get three superstars and guaranteed to go to the finals, right? And now we've reverted to the big two. That's kind of the theme right now.
Now it's
the big two. So let's do this. This will be fun. Who? Let's go this. Michael or LeBron? The GOAT. Who? With your pick.
I can't. I don't play that game.
Okay, you don't play. Okay,
I don't play that game, and the reason I don't play that game is because there's so many effing variables, man.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jordan played in
a different league, different era. Yeah, they
played against centers like Vlade Divac that smoked cigarettes and ate McDonald's at halftime.
Okay, let's stay in the. Okay.
Number one. Number two, he played. That's what makes the game easier. Number two, he played in an era where people would knock him in the mid-air at the foul line.
Yeah.
So
LeBron wouldn't have half the free throw shots that he would ever have playing back then.
No, but on top of that, he would post the hell up out of any other small forward that wanted to check him. So Russell Westbrook, like, who played like Russell Westbrook? No one's eating like who eats today.
Sure.
No one is training. LeBron is in ice baths, cryotherapy. He's in these compression legs. He's got a chef walking around with him. Michael Jordan was eating McDonald's. Michael Jordan smoked cigars on his way to the game.
Yeah.
He would be up at night playing in Vegas, right?
Michael Jordan left the NBA to go fucking play baseball. What NBA player takes a sabbatical that long and doesn't, and stays that sharp? But okay, let me ask you the current day then. If you had to put money on who takes the NBA championship this year? This upcoming season?
I would say the Lakers.
Yeah.
If everyone's healthy. Healthy is a big part of it.
Sure.
It's a team game, and that's like business too. It's the same thing, right? In my company, if you were to say, are we going to hit our goals this year? Are we going to keep these people? Are these people going to stay with us? Because as long as these people stay with us and they stay healthy, and that in our case means like mentally, are they going to be focused? If that's the case, we'll hit these goals, no problem. We're going to crush it. But if we lose a member, or if something happens, like, that can change the dynamic. You know?
I hope that you are 100% right in that. And I'm being a Cleveland fan, but I've always been a huge LeBron fan. Even when he left to Miami, I loved him. I hope they win because of the cool parallels guys like you and me will be able to make content on. That, listen, this is a guy who is used to winning. Right? Like, there are a lot of gyms I get to talk to that had the glory days of, let's say when CrossFit popped, and it was a buzzword. It was one of the highest search Google searches, and they were doing really well. And now it's a more saturated boutique market. You can't get away with this grungy warehouse like it's 2008 anymore. LeBron took one on the chin this past year. Yeah. He's not used to that. And you pick now a pissed off LeBron who's got a chip on his shoulder, like a real chip.
He took one on the chin every move he made. When he went to Miami, he took a big punch in the face. When he went back to Cleveland,
oh boy.
I mean, here's another lesson too for studio owners. a lot of people I've seen have stopped running ads a certain way or stopped posting content because they'll get like a negative comment.
Yeah.
And it's like that, you know, you're going to get that, and you've got to, I honestly, I don't even pay attention to a lot of it. I've got somebody else that'll like or, you know, comment or whatever. Like I'll go in there every once in a while, but I don't even want to know it because I don't think that person knows the whole story. So for you to judge what I'm doing, I want my customer that's been with me for 6 months to judge me what I'm doing, because that guy's got the full story.
Sure.
This guy that's just watching, like,
sure.
You know,
yeah.
So I think a lot of people have to know. I never had a negative comment, never, until about 1.5 years ago, and now I get, you know, I get them, and
it's a numbers game. It's at a certain point when you get enough clients, you're going to have some shit. It's just bottom line.
Yeah. So I think that's another good thing too. It's like, as you guys are starting to make moves, as you guys start running more ads, man, you're going to have studio owners, especially the ones neighboring you. They're going to be talking crap about you, and they're going to be hating on you. And there's two things you could do about it that are on the positive side. Number one, you can show your team, like, look, guys, we're ruffling feathers. That means we're getting attention. This is good. Number two, you can approach that person and say, hey, man, I feel really bad. I saw what you commented, and I feel like I've let you down as a neighbor here, and I feel like you think I'm hurting the community. And is it cool if I take you to lunch? I just kind of want to talk about it and get on the same page with some of this stuff. And then just have lunch with the guy, because you may there's a pride that holds, and that's the thing with D personalities or red personalities, depending on what personality assessment you take, like DISC or whatever. But like typically entrepreneurs are, and I'm like this too, I'm massively competitive. But sometimes you learn that the best way to win, a real competitive person wants to win, doesn't want to lose, right? So but then there's some people that are just competitive where it's about their pride. You take some players, they just want all their points. They don't care if they win the game. They want their points. There's a story about Carmelo Anthony, who nobody wants anymore, where they won the game and he was pissed off because he only had 29 points. They won the game and he was pissed because he only had 29 points. So there's some people that they just want to be known for this. They want to,
sure.
they want to be the one that's known for it. And there's other people, and that I've liked to learn from, where it's like, look, who gives a crap if that person just left you a bad comment or shit on you or talk crap about you? Who cares? What are you going to win? Where's the real big win on you going back at it or ignoring it? What if you go hit it head on and say, you know, I'm going to talk to this guy, and my goal is to make this guy my friend. I'll tell you, there's a big guy in the industry. I'm not going to say who. There's a big guy that ran a sponsored ad against me on how we're scammers and liars and all this stuff. Didn't know anything about me. Nothing. I don't even know who. Like, it was just out of nowhere. Big now, though. And I reached out immediately to see how he can talk. Ignored me. Said, no, not doing it. No, ignored me. About a year later, I approached him again. Because I noticed that our circles are starting to cross, and it's going to happen. And I said, hey, man, I messaged him on Instagram. I was like, hey, we should get together. And he's like, I'm sorry, man. I don't have the time. He just kept blowing me off. And I said, you know what? How about this? I know you're super busy, but I also know you're super philanthropic and you care about people. How about if you meet with me for just 5 minutes on the phone? And I'll donate $1,000 to the charity of your choice. This way, if you get no value out of it, at least some kids do. You think he took the call?
Yeah.
He did. Took the call. We had a great conversation in less than 4 or 5 minutes. Ended up turning into a 20-minute call. Since then, we've become friends. We've done some business together. And we're text all the time. We're good friends. I've made money. I've made that $1,000 back.
Sure.
And I like the person, and he likes me. Like, we would have been friends ordinarily. We just
100%.
So that to me is a real competitive move, because pride-wise, I wanted to say, screw this guy.
Sure.
But because I cared more about winning than my own pride, I went and said, forget how my feelings are right now. I've got to win this game. I got goals.
It's way harder to create colleagues out of competitors than it is to just treat them like competitors.
Yeah.
And that's, again, collaboration over competition when it comes to this. Because the other thing, too, is going back to what you said, it being such a young market, being such a young thing, none of us still know what the fuck we're doing. There's some of us that have figured it out way better than others. But trust me, the shit we know today in 2019, we will laugh at ourselves in 2025.
I laughed at myself last year.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Mike, listen, man, I really do appreciate you taking the time today and chopping up with me on business and basketball and stuff like that. This has been an absolute pleasure, brother. Where can people reach out to you if they want to learn more about Loud Rumor and what your services do for them and, Loud Rumor VT?
So loudrumorvt.com is where you can go for Loud Rumor VT. And then my handles for everything is just Mike RC Live. It was like the only thing that was available. So it's just my first name, my last name, and then live at the end of it. So Instagram is probably the easiest. Like I'm pretty active on Instagram.
Awesome. And I'll go ahead and plug all this down in the show notes. Brother, listen, enjoy LA, and that we'll be talking soon, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.